Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in this video, a little bit different because it's kind of a behind the scenes-ish update video to the channel, including something that I've been needing to add to the channel in order to make things a little bit easier for me, and also at the same time replace an aging piece of hardware that I should have done a long time ago. But due to some sentimentality, I've kind of dragged my feet on it, but now's the time. So let's see what it is and see what I'm going to be using. And that is replacing my aging dinosaur of a workhorse laptop, my HP Pavilion here. Now before I talk about this, I do want to mention why this video is so strange and might look a little strange. This was originally supposed to be part of the 3-year update video, but because of some other things going on at the time, and I don't have a lot of other videos done, plus it was going to be an hour-long video, and I didn't want to release a third hour-long one so close to the other two milestone videos, I kind of just decided not to release it as one. I'm just going to split it up and make them filler videos throughout the next few months. While I'm waiting for other video projects to get done. And that's kind of what this is. I have some projects in the works, but they're just not quite done yet. And also because this video is being edited on the machine that's replacing this laptop. So hopefully it turns out pretty good and doesn't look too wonky. This aging dinosaur is my HP Pavilion G7 that I got 6 years ago, and it was outdated then. So this is actually only the second laptop I ever had, and it actually replaced my Toshiba satellite netbook that I had when I went to college in 2010. You know, those little netbooks that have a Intel Atom, 1 gig of RAM, Windows 7 starter, and 2 USB ports, and that's it. Yeah, but it was fine for what I needed it for, which was text documents and surfing the web in college, and having my own laptop to do so, instead of having to rely on the family computer at the time. Unfortunately, about 6-7 years ago, that little machine started failing rapidly. Even though I maxed out the RAM, I put a faster hard drive because SSDs were expensive, so I put a 7800 RPM drive instead of the 5400 one. One of the USB ports quit working. The battery started slowly, or not slowly, quickly losing its lifespan. I maxed out the RAM, and it wasn't helping. I tried installing a version of Linux. It wasn't worth keeping up. I was actually talking to my mom about it one day, and no, I wasn't talking, I was complaining, which is a nice word for what I was doing. It actually started with the letter B. Because without that laptop, I couldn't pay certain bills or, whatever. So my mom actually happened to have another laptop, so she gave me her old one, which she bought in 2012 when she went to college. Ironically, for computer and IT work. Anyway, this was one of the computers on her list of recommended machines. Now specifically, the specs of this machine is a Pavilion G7-2215DX, which is powered by the Pentium B950, which is I believe it's a 2 gigahertz single core dual thread processor with 2 gigabyte RAM, and it came with Windows 8 and it on a 5400 RPM drive. So I pulled out the drive, I popped in my faster one out of my netbook, formatted it, installed Windows 8, and then updated it to 8.1, maxed the RAM out to 4 gigabyte, and for 6 years I had been using this thing. Less so the past year or two, because it's been, well, it was showing its age then, but it's really showing its age now. It's 11 years old, and it's so far outdated. I popped in an SSD and installed Linux Mint. I tried updating the BIOS, because some of these can actually take 6 gigabyte of RAM, but it wouldn't take. In fact, the final nail in the coffin for this thing was when I took this to on my business trip to Kansas. I tried using this to write scripts for the channel, and it died within an hour. The battery just wasn't holding it. And that's another reason why there's some sentimentality here, because this is what I used to start the channel 3 years ago. The first 2 or 3 videos, as rough as they were right here. I mean, this thing couldn't handle DaVinci or even Openshot, so I was using the built-in editor and Avidmu to quick cut the clips, and then I used Openshot to render them, which is all this thing could really do. It couldn't, edit and render at the same time. But yeah, I would keep it around, but it needs replaced. It has for a while, and it's just, since it's now fully dead, it won't even power on anymore. I'm just going to use it for that purpose. Pull the RAM and hard drive out of it, and waste it. It's sad, and I would keep it as a memento, regardless of how big my channel gets or how small it stays. But considering I'm actually in the middle of working on a video involving hoarder mentality when it comes to all my games, and why there's there can be some mentality hoarder thoughts there when you're collecting games. I'm still working on that video. It's a long ways out. I just don't want to get involved with hoarding dead tech. So yeah, it's finally time to let it go. So let's talk about what's replacing it and what I hope to accomplish with this new machine. And that is this, a Dell Latitude 5590, a very smudged business laptop from circa 2018. Now, I know a lot of you are probably sitting there going, well, hey, stupid, you're replacing an 11-year-old laptop with a 5-year-old laptop? That makes 0 sense. Well, I want to talk about that real quick. See, old laptops, like I think this HP was still part of this trend. Laptop trends have changed. Back in the old days, and like I said, I believe this one's still part of that, laptop hardware was actually based on old technology. It was one generation behind in most cases. So for example, this one, if you look up the specs of it, it's part of the, I believe, the 2nd generation of the Core i series. But the chip itself is designed off the 1st generation Core i series, like the i3, I think it's the 650, the i5 750, even though it's lumped in with this one because that's when it came out. Now that's true for a lot of laptops during that time, is that they were always one generation back. When the 1st generation of the Core i series desktops came out, a lot of laptops were still powered by the Centrinos, and which were based off the older Core 2 line. But in the past few years, trends have changed. Mobile chips have actually been built alongside their desktop counterparts, making a 7th gen chip still a 7th gen chip. And the reason why a lot of these newer laptops are being tossed out and e-wasted is because businesses are still under that impression that an outdated laptop is an outdated laptop. Now, to be fair, yes, these older laptops probably aren't the best for security in a lot of financial-based businesses, but for the average consumer like me, these newer laptops are a godsend, especially considering that for what I'm going to be doing with this thing's going to have more than enough power. So let's talk about some of the specs that this thing has and talk about some of the upgrades I've done. So on this side, we have the headset jack, which is standard 3.5 millimeter. We have a SIM card slot for like Wi-Fi over networks. One USB 3.0 port over here with VGA out, which I still find pretty weird that this still has VGA out, but whatever. A gigabit LAN, HDMI out, a second USB 3.0 port, but wait, a third USB 3.0 port, SD card, and this, it's called DisplayPort over USB-C, but technically speaking, it's very similar to Thunderbolt. In fact, I think it's electronically compatible. So like most Thunderbolt docks, I can use with this, which is great for expandability for what I have planned for this. We also have a gorgeous matte finish 1080p display, full HD, with a 720p webcam, backlit keyboard, full numpad, which I will fight about why these are awesome, and a little IBM inspired nub for that finer detail stuff. Yeah. For hardware specs, I want to talk about something real quick. There's 2 versions of the 5590. The early 18 models with the 7th gen chips, the late 18 models with the 8th gen chips. This one is early 2018. In fact, it was March 2018, right before the 8th gen was released, meaning this thing actually came with the 7th gen chip. Now that's nothing to sneeze at. This is the i5 7300U model. Now this particular chip is a dual-core 4-threaded processor that can turbo up to 3.5 gigahertz. Although I believe, if I remember correctly from the BIOS, Dell locked that down to the max speed of, I believe, 2.93 gigahertz, which I know doesn't sound that impressive on anything, but considering this HP was a single-core dual-threaded processor, in fact, I might have to look up the specs again. I think it was not hyper-threaded, to be honest with you. And I believe it was like 1.8, 1.9 gigahertz, which means this thing already blows this one way out of the water. This laptop also has the capability of taking up to 32 gigabyte of DDR4 clocked at 2133, which is more than my old rig could ever handle. It was only maxed out at 16 gigabyte. And it could either come with a 2.5-inch standard SSD or a 256 gig M.2 SATA-based SSD with support for NVMe drives. I think you know what I put in here. Performance. And it has the integrated HD 620 chipset, which is not the most powerful of the integrated graphics, But considering when I have been using this thing, I can run Fallout New Vegas high setting. That's actually stupidly amazing to me, considering that this laptop over here could barely run 20. This is basically running what my old i5 2400 used to. Okay, to be fair, with that machine, I didn't have the RX in it yet when I first started, so splitting hairs there. But yeah, anyway, I've currently got the, since this thing had no hard drive or RAM in it, I popped in 16 gig of DDR4 2400, which is still downclocked to 2133 because of the BIOS. And I popped in a 256 gigabyte NVMe boot drive that was identical to the one that's in my rig upstairs. And it boots up stupidly quick and has plenty of space and storage for all what I need. And with all the USB ports, I have so much expansion options on just standard like portable hard drives or flash drives. And with the USB-C Thunderbolt style dock or USB style port, I can use Thunderbolt docks. That gives me a whole new expandability for what I'm going to be doing with it, which we're going to talk about. So one of the main things my goal for this is to basically have a functional laptop again and use for all sorts of stuff. Any document stuff I need to do, like typing scripts, or if I don't want to power up my big desktop to just look at something real quick or download a file real quick. Whether I'm at home or at work, I can take this thing to work and still do the YouTube stuff during my lunch breaks. I also plan on doing like mobile gaming with this. Like, since it runs New Vegas just fine, I can play some of my favorite games like 3, New Vegas, or I can play older games using emulators, like DOSBox or RetroArch. Yeah, there's so many things I could do with this because it's much more powerful than my old one. And yes, I know it's not as powerful as the new ones. I get that. But financially, it'd be foolish for me to go out and buy a new laptop if I'm not actually going to be integrating it like I want to. If I'm not going to integrate as much as I think I'm going to, then there's no point in me spending several hundred, if not $1,000 on a performance laptop. And that's another thing I want to do with this laptop is integrate it into the channel. Whether it's for editing a quick video, like this one's going to be edited on it to see if it can handle it anyway. Or to check on the status of my NAS server or my Minecraft server or my Jellyfin server without having to power up my big desktop. Transferring files to this and then copying them over later over my network. I could do so many things with this that it wouldn't be funny. I don't even power my big desktop for a lot of the times. And I'm excited to try it out. Now, obviously, the keen-eye among you may notice that's not Windows 10 or 11, even though this will support it. This is actually running Ubuntu Jam & Jellyfish. Now, the reason for that is I wanted an excuse to test drive and daily drive Linux for a little bit. I've been doing that for about 2 weeks now. And even though everything's worked just fine, the only thing that isn't is playing like GOG and Steam games because they need Lutris, which for some reason Lutris is not fully working on here. It's not correctly setting certain games up. So I might just format this again and install Windows 11. But yeah, that's my goal for this thing, is to use it for basically editing videos on the go, playing games on the go, just generic laptop stuff. And I'm excited to finally have a working laptop. With that being said, yeah, like I said, this is a very strange video, hopefully a pretty short video. It's going to be edited on this machine here. I'm using the built-in Kden Live, just to see if it can handle it. If not, I'm not going to worry about it, but if it does, great. And I'm going to be using this for probably smaller videos, including any streaming or podcast stuff, because this thing would have the power to at least record that kind of stuff. Maybe not the webcam, but it has ports for, USB ports for webcam, so I figured why not. Hi everyone, I just got to finish recording another video, so that's why I'm wearing this. That's why I haven't changed shirts yet. But this is updating the laptop. I am currently not editing it with Kden Live or Ubuntu. I spent about a whole 2 or 3 days trying to get Kden Live to work. And I got to the point where it was constantly crashing. I couldn't even click anywhere in Kden Live without it crashing. It just crashed the desktop with no crash log at all. Openshot would crash at random too, and it wouldn't let me do any form of After Effects, like at all. I couldn't even chroma key the little YouTube button that you saw in the corner. It wouldn't even let me do that without crashing. I even tried Olive, which is another really low spec hardware based Linux open source thing. It crashed constantly. So I decided to switch the laptop from Ubuntu to Windows 11. And I have nothing against Ubuntu. I'm not bashing Ubuntu, I'm not bashing Linux. I'm sure it was probably just either some sort of update problem or something I did wrong. But The other problem is with gaming with the laptop. So I wanted that for 3 reasons, which was I wanted to do mobile editing, mobile gaming, and just to have a laptop for day-to-day use. The day-to-day use thing was fine because I could surf the web with Firefox, I could check on my YouTube channel with it, I could surf the web with it, and it did that just fine. But video editing completely failed, like I just talked about. And with gaming, it only really would play like Fallout New Vegas and Quake. Every other game I tried to install on there using GOG or Lutris or even Steam games, constant crashing, or they wouldn't start up, or it would start up with the wrong settings, or something, or the sound wouldn't work. It got to the point where I could only play Fallout New Vegas, and which is fine, but not for somebody who wants to play a lot more mobile games. And the other problem was Lutris wouldn't start DOSBox correctly. DOSBox wouldn't start correctly when I tried to install it separately. It just, I couldn't run it. Even RetroArch had problems starting on it. I don't know. It must have been something I did, but it got to the point where I was trying to fix it. And I got to the point where it's like, you know what? I know that all this stuff works on Windows 11. So I just installed Windows 11. Again, I'm not bashing Linux or Ubuntu. It's a very stable operating system for day-to-day use. It's just for my use case for what I want to do with this laptop that I'm editing on right now, it's not good. So that being said, thank you everyone for watching this laptop update, this channel update video for the laptop. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the like button, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload more content. Please put your questions and comments about this video down in the comment section, and I can answer them in a reasonable fashion. If you have any questions about Ubuntu, or if you have any information about Ubuntu that maybe I could try later, maybe I'll put a different hard drive in it, and I'll try Ubuntu and just see if I can get it to work again. So yeah, any of you Linux gurus, you know, if you want to call me an idiot down in the comments, you can. You won't hurt my feelings. Trust me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. And with that being said, thank you everyone for watching this channel update video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.